Hi, Chuck Huber here with a Stata Quick Tip. I want you to just stop what you're doing for a second, and I want to show you two of my favorite commands in all of Stata, margins and margins plot. If you're already familiar with these two commands, then you folks can go back to watching cat videos or whatever you were doing before. But for the rest of you, if you give me just 2 or 3 minutes, I promise this will save you a ton of time and it will revolutionize the way that you present the results of your regression models. It's not going to be a tutorial. There are plenty of videos on our YouTube channel that show you how to use factor variables and margins plot. What I want to do here is just show you some of the things that you can do with margins and margins plot in the hopes of motivating you to learn more about these two amazing commands. So I'm going to be using the Hosmer and Lemischau low birth weight data. So let's say that I want to fit a regression model for birth weight, which is continuous, and I would like to include age and smoke. Whoops, I have to spell smoke correctly here. So Stata fits my model, and I could interpret this in the usual way. I could go through and talk about the coefficients and the association between age and birth weight. But what I'd like to do instead is I'm going to type margins and just press enter for the first time. And what margins does is it shows me the marginal prediction of birth weight based on my data set and my model that I've fit. So the expected birth weight based on this model is 2,944 grams. Maybe I'd like to calculate the predicted birth weight if all mothers were smokers or if all mothers were non-smokers. So I can type margins smoke, and margins will then calculate the expected birth weight for mothers who didn't smoke and mothers who did. For mothers who smoked, the expected birth weight for their infants was about 2,776 grams. For mothers who didn't smoke, the expected birth weight of their infant is about 3,053 grams. Now this is cool. Watch, I can now type margins plot, and Stata will create a profile plot for me. So here on the left, I can see the expected birth weight for mothers who didn't smoke, and the expected birth weight for the infants of mothers who didn't smoke. And on the right, I see the expected birth weight for infants of mothers who did smoke. And I have a line that connects them. Now, some people prefer plunger plots, some people call them. So I can type comma recast bar, and Stata will draw a plunger plot instead. Again, for mothers who didn't smoke and mothers who did smoke. And the bar is again representing the expected birth weight of the infants of these smokers and non-smokers. Now, watch this. I can type margins, comma, at age equals, and in parentheses, I'm going to type 30, 5, and 45. And this is going to calculate the average predictions, assuming all mothers are age 30, 35, 40, and 45. And here at the bottom, these are expressed as at. So at 1 is age equal 30. So down here, at 1 is age equal 30. So the expected birth weight for an infant of a mother who is 30 years of age is about 3,020 grams. Now, watch this. I can type margins plot. You know what's coming. And Stata will graph that for me, the age of the mother. Okay, so here I see the expected birth weight at each of these ages, as well as a 95% confidence interval around them. Now watch this. If I close that, and I'm just going to hit page up again, and I'm going to type, whoops, I need to scroll up one more. I'm going to add smoking to this. So now the command is margin smoke, comma, at age equals 30 through 45 in increments of 5. Press enter. And margins then does the calculations for me, the predicted expected birth weights. Now I can type margins plot again, and margins will graph the results over age by mothers who smoked and who didn't smoke. Now, that's cool, but what if I go back and I refit this model? Let me fit the model again, and I'm going to type C dot in front of age, and put two little sharps here, or hashtags, or whatever you want to call them. What this is going to do is fit a full factorial model, which will include the main effect of age, the main effect of smoking, as well as the interaction between age and smoking. Interpreting that interaction term can be a little bit tricky, but I can go back and type margins again, margins smoke at age 30 through 45. I'm just rerunning the command I ran before, and now I can double click over here on margins plot in the results window again. and it will graph the results. Because I have my interaction term, the lines are no longer forced to be parallel. So it makes it much easier to interpret models, for example, that include things like interactions, because it can be difficult to explain those to non-statisticians, but a graph shows the results of this model very clearly. I could also go back and refit this model adjusting for race. So I could type i.race, fit that model, and I'm going to use the exact same margins command again. Margins smoke at age equal those numbers. Press enter. Again, margins calculates the predictions for me, and I can type margins plot. Again, I'm just clicking this in the review window. And I see a similar graph, but now this graph is, I see expected birth weight over age by smoking and non-smoking, but at this time it's adjusted for race, the mother's race, which is why we refer to this as margins, because it's giving us the marginal prediction. So I could put lots of other covariates in my model and create this exact same graph adjusted for all those other covariates. Now, this works for more than just regression. I can also type logistic, and in this case I'm going to use low as the outcome, which is an indicator for low birth weight less than 2,500, and I'm going to again type c.age, and then two little sharps there, and then i.smoke. And heck, let's just go ahead and put race in there too. So now I have this logistic regression model for low birth weight, including a full factorial model for age and smoke, and then adjusting for race. I'm going to press enter. Stata fits the model. Now watch this. I can still use the exact same margins command I used before because I have the same covariates. But now what Stata is doing, or margins, is calculating the predicted probability of low birth weight for smokers and non-smokers. It's not the expected birth weight, it's the predicted probability of low birth weight. So I could go through this entire list, or I can type margins plot, and I can graph the results. So now I can see over age by smoking and non-smoking what the probability of the infant being low birth weight is. Okay? So that's margins and margins plot. These commands work with most commands in Stata, Poisson regression, negative binomial regression, you name it, structural equation modeling, it works. And like I said, there are plenty of videos on our YouTube channel that show more detail how to use margins and margins plot, and you can also read the manual as well. So I hope I've convinced you that these are two very powerful and useful commands. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for stopping by.